Swivel Base next. Let's see. Oh, I may have lost my. I need to log back into Canvas real quick. I think I'm going to save it, but I can talk through it a little bit. So, um, because I'm going to do that Thursday for sure. But let me let me at least talk through it with you here. So let me get logged back in here to our. Yeah, I'm going to do this one. Yeah, and this one, I feel like I don't even have like all the information for this one yet, but this is going to become another two view object, front and top. The right side is not going to give us any more detail. The only thing that would in the right side, it's actually going to fall into the same front top view selection of choice here. So that's what I'm going to do. But if I talk through the next one real quick, the bracket design, if you're gonna work ahead on it, it just has that big disclaimer. Object orientation will need to be considered for third angle projection. And we need to choose the front view with this criteria, right? Natural position of use, best shape description, longest width, have the fewest hidden features, be the most stable natural position. So if we look at the actual, this is not the only reason why I would draw this. So what this is leaning towards is maybe this surface as a front surface, looking down on it as a top surface, and then looking this way as a right side surface. The only reason why I would not going to choose that is because it's not a stable par position. And so like it's probably tip overable pretty easy that way without holding it up. It's probably going to be pretty heavy on this side and tip over. It's like a backwards letter P. So setting it in, like drawing it this way, I would only do this if the first criteria was like my best, represents the most natural position of use. This is the one we don't get a good feel for because our parts, we don't understand how they're being used and how they're being used in relation to other parts in an assembly. That's really what drives, sometimes that drives why I would put something maybe in not its most stable part position, but it might be in its most natural position of use. So that there's a little bit of a gray area there. Like a person could draw this way and just and lean on the fact that's the most natural position of use. So that's why I did it. Like the true GD&T drafter, if you're working for the INL or aerospace or something like automotive, they would probably say, nope, I know it might be how it is in the assembly, but we actually need to inspect this part and it needs to be in its most stable part position for inspection. And so they would want you to not do the natural position of use and put it in its stable part position for inspection purposes. So that one would trump the other. It's just a little bit of a gray area there. And unless you know what industry you're working for and how the part works, it's hard to determine. But so I'm going to go with kind of the GD&T mindset of where, like, if I'm just going to analyze this part on its own free will and choice, I'm going to pick a different base for it and likely a different front view. And so we did this on the anchor base, and what I want to do that is here too. So I'll just help you now if you're going to work ahead. The way I'm going to, if I'm you know, using these as my criteria for selection, what it's going to drive me to do is I'm going to select what would normally be like in this view, the right side view here. That is going to become my base of this. So this is still going to be like front view, but I'm going to lay it down on this side right here. And so if I lay it down on that side, yes, it'll have this little bevel up here that won't be contacting the base surface, but it's going to be a pretty stable part position. Just lay that down on that edge. And that would make this still the front surface with probably this hole kind of being on my right side and this stuff being on the left side of my front view. So I'd almost just lay that down and look at it. And then my top view is going to become what would be normally the left side view then. If this is going to be front view, base down, this is going to be top view looking kind of at the left side view. And the right side view is going to be looking right at this surface now right here. So what looks to be the top as it's positioned is going to become the right side view. And what looks to be the right side view in this position is going to become the bottom. And front is going to be front. So I'm going to lay it down 90 degrees. Just plop it down. It'll be stable. It'll hold itself up in that position. It'll be easy to locate in a inspection table. And that's the best selection. And then you can take off from there. Now, additionally, what complicates this is kind of just got some weird curves. And so the views might be a little bit tricky to piece together. It has a disclaimer that the fillets and rounds are 1/4 inch. So anything that's not explicitly called out, which I think most of the fillets that are explicitly called out, like specific located, these specific dimensions are going to be the general like radius. Like this is the big outer radius here, 1.75 radius. This is this inner radius of like 1/2 inch. But the fillets and rounds that are 1/4 inch, they're going to be like these little ones that are unlabeled. Like there's a round, there's a fillet. This whole edge, you can see is this whole edge all the way around the part is also filleted round at 1/4 inch. So that's it. Yeah, I'll definitely that's just a quick overview of that part. I'll draw it on Thursday though. But if you're working ahead, front, bottom, right side view is top, and top is kind of out of, I can't really see it in this position, but that helps. Heck yes. I'm gonna go back to the swivel base though. It's gonna be on the inch template, double scale. This one could be wrong. I think this might not fit as a double scale. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it does. This is the one maybe I questioned. I think the double scale worked well for us last time. It does not fit on the B size sheet as a double scale. Okay. When we get to that point, I'll fix this up here. So this is, so I would put it on what it will fit. One scale might be look a little small, but we'll determine. If we have to make a custom scale, this would be a good time to do that. So I'm just going to open my inch template where it already has my note because I saved it on my note. And I'm going to save this as a drawing though. For my swivel base, week 6 in class. I technically have not done this one yet myself this year. Yeah, I'm doing the swivel base actually. Yep. I just want to talk through anybody that's on that bracket. And it's definitely the last one I'll do of the week. I feel like it is the hardest. So it's going to be what I call this one. So I'm gonna open up its what do I need? I need my my dimension sheet for it. Which I have somewhere, the ISO, yeah. So yeah, so let's do my standard study of overall widths and heights and depths. Overall width I have on this one, 2.5 plus some radius probably. This is one that we always have to add that bigger radius. So to me, oh, I don't really know, but it is going to be the same. This is, I like this one. This is, we've had to do this a few times is, what is the diameter of this across the, well, it's the same width as that, 2. So technically the round has a diameter on kind of with the base plate. Then I've got the cone shaped kind of part. So to me, I've got like two kind of like features of, I mean, it's one object, but it's got definitely two features, like a base plate with a slot in it. And then it's got this kind of a cone shaped cylinder rather than just a truly round shaped. Um, and so it's 2 inches in diameter. That'd be 1 inch from center out to the outer radius. So I feel like it's gonna be 3.5 would be my width of my front view. 3.5. I'm gonna definitely think this is top view surface here. And front view surface is here. This front view surface. Super stable part position, how it's laying down for sure. Right side view is a good right side view. I'm just gonna omit it. I'm not gonna need it. So it's going to be 3.5 by the height. The overall height, I think, is this 0.95. So it's kind of a skinny part. 3.5 by 0.95. And then the depth is going to be 2 in the top view. So with those, I'm ready to draw on my, draw my, 3.5 by 0.95. Skinny and tall, or skinny and wide. Yep. Another one. And like you said, now you can be a little like knowing how to work with your two viewports. We can be pretty um, yeah, we don't have to worry about being so perfect we'll just know that we can do a copy, make a viewport. Um, it's not the end of the world. So it's just like I can kind of proceed without caution now and put it wherever I want. I still keep it orthographically aligned, so I can do that. But 3.5 by 2, yeah. But I don't really have to worry too much at this. I might come in here and just get an eye. Like the assignment would like me to be able to do a double scale. I think we've determined it won't fit. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I think it's pretty. I mean, this could come together ways, and it might be close. I mean, I'll make the ultimate decision once I get done. I can see clearly with the space I've got, it's not going to fit, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it like that. Just lock it down for a second. Move back into draw. So just make sure that I can make sure I did get those lined up. They look good. Yeah. And then just take a good look at what I've got to draw here. I feel like the base, yeah, so my front view is just going to be a solid line across the base, up on the right side. This is going to be 0.35 thick here. So it's going to be kind of like a little rectangle look, and I might even pick up this line. It looks like a line here. So I feel like really this whole surface is going to look like a rectangle that's 0.35 by 3.5. And then I'm going to have to do this cone-shaped feature. And that might be, I don't know, it might be kind of tricky to figure out or easier to figure out in the top view and project down maybe. So, I mean, it doesn't have a base diameter, but it really does. It's the same diameter. It's 2. So I probably can draw it in the front view. It's going to look like yeah, potentially. I mean, this might be one that you draw the top view stuff first and then drop it down. I'll for sure put in at least a little bit of the front view here because I had determined that this is like 0.35 all the way across to here, 3.5 down. Base plate kind of looks like that and then the top view, well, it's a little, I mean, this little cone section's a little bit maybe harder to find. Yeah, it's 2 inch over at the base and it comes up and I could draw some stuff. Maybe I'll just project down. I think it's gonna be easier if I put it in the top and then project it down. It's the way I proceed with this, but there's no right or wrong. I'm going to put a center line in here, especially horizontal center line. I feel because I'm looking for, I don't have, maybe I don't even have to put a full, I could strategically put this in a little less distance. So maybe I'll delete this just for a minute, but I think I'm going to put a center line in with an endpoint where it hits where everything based around kind of a whole center here. So if I look back here, maybe I'm just looking for where this concentric kind of spacing would be. And so if I'm going to put a line in, it's going to be that 2 inch diameter. So a 1 inch radius, 1 inch over to there from that left side edge, 1 inch over. And then I'm going to have these diameters that I can draw in 3/4, 1 1/4. I can draw those 2 diameters in and even a diameter of this one here, which is a 2 inch diameter, all concentrically located from the same, all concentric essentially. So let's do that. 3/4, a 1 1/4, and a 2 inch circle out over 1 inch. So we come over here. So the center line I actually might put in is just from here and only over like 1 inch. That will function as an end point too. So now I can do my circles. The bigger outer is a radius of 2, which should just look like that. It should look from edge to edge, front to back, plus hit the left side at 1 inch. And then I'm going to do another circle that was 1 1/4 diameter, right? So that's like half and an eighth. That's 5/8. So that would be like a 0.625 is what the next biggest circle is. That's 1 1/4 divided by 2 for the radius. Unless you're drawn by diameter, and that's fine too. It's just that I'm going back into the circle command, which goes to a radius feature. And then the other one is it 3/4? Kind of looks like that. Looks like a bullseye kind of. I'll double check that one was 3/4. Yes, 3/4, 1 1/4. I could do so then the plate itself kind of comes from here to hit the quadrant, right? This tangent point in this particular position, would be the quadrant. You know, if I'm at some weird angle, I might have to use tangent rather than quadrant, but because these are like perpendicularly located, that will work good. Parallel and perpendicular. Yeah, that's good. Right side view is all the way across. Of course, I think I have some fillets there to account for, but that goes to there. It's kind of the base plate. Has some slotted feature, but I think it has radius corners, right? Yeah. Let's see. And they're not called out, so that means I should look for the notes to see what they are. And the notes say their rounds and fillets are 1/4 inch radius. So I'll go ahead and put those in with my fillet command. And I think that I had an 1/8 inch, so I think I need to reset the radius here. When in doubt, just check it. It needs to be a 1/4 inch for these, and I'm going to do multiple, so I'm going to click multiple, and then go ahead and snap those in. Perfect. And now I probably just need some construction layout work for where the slot is, so I'll do that. It's over 0.6, and it's 6.3 to the first one, and then 7.5 to the second one. So I feel like I'm going to do 2 circles here, and then 2 tangent lines to make my slot. Pretty common. So I might just need to know a line that's like 0.63 out and 0.6, and then a line from there that's 0.75 and 0.6 out. So I could just do one line across at 0.6. So maybe I'll do that as my first construction line. Come in here with a line. Maybe I'll just cursor over that 0.6 and draw a construction line. That's the center of the slot. Do a lot of features by center line, right? Like I think you do that in architectural world too. You're just placing walls and stuff by center points. You get used to that here too. Because I could even use offset command to use this as my tangent line. I could offset this center line. I need 2 circles though, so I need a circle. And what are the diameters of that? They are a 1/2 inch diameter, so these are like a 1/4 inch radius. So I think I'm just going to cursor up on that line 0.63 and put a yeah, I think so. 0.63 and then 0.75. Technically, I could come over here with my construction line and come up here, 0.63, cursor over, and then I'm just going to snap it to that line. That's the endpoint of one circle. I might repeat that up from here, should be 0.75 and then over. So those two are our center of circle. I hesitate thinking that those are like I could mirror that across only because that 0.63 has me worried that it's like a rounded number. Like, I don't know. Let me check what this measures. From here to here, if it's centered, would be, see, it's 0.62 there. And then right here, I have probably 0.63. That's technically correct. It's just not centered, which is kind of weird. If it was 0.625, it would have been centered. So I think because there's a little bit of a, to me, when I see a dimension like that where it's 2 3/4, I would think centered, and I would think 0.625, 0.625. This is maybe this maybe should have been 3 decimal places instead of 2 if I really wanted to hit true center. I'm going to draw it to this though, because that's what I was given. So there might be a reason that it's 5 thousandths different. But it could be an inaccurate part too if this was supposed to not be held to 2 decimal places, but actually 3. So what's happened is it's affected this dimension over here. It's not centered by 5 thousandths. Yeah, because that's what the dimensions say. So I'm going to draw it like that's, and you wouldn't even know that unless you knew, like, yeah, if you could see that once I minus that, I've only got what 1 1/4, and 1 1/4 split in half would be 5/8, and this is not truly 5/8. So anyway, yeah, because yeah, that can happen if you're not holding the right decimal places. You can affect this drawing is being affected by that potentially, which is okay. It's kind of interesting. But I'm ready to draw those circles now that are, I think we decided they're 1/2 inch in diameter or a 1/4 inch here. Oh, yeah, what is it? I guess I totally forgot. Oh yeah, 1/4 inch. Yeah. Yeah, 1/4 inch radius is what I'm looking for, 0.25. Looks like a big circle. I'm gonna copy that over. I mean, you could draw another one, but I'll just copy. Maybe I will copy by center point by center. That's cool. I could use the offset. Remember, you got that offset command, offset distance. Maybe I'll say by 0.25 as well. Could offset this line. That's how you do a lot of architectural walls, right? Draw the center lines, then offset. Yeah, similar. I use that here too. I might need to match these properties to my new lines right here. And then I need to trim it a bunch, but that works. Cool. It's got a weird, it's I gotta look at that kind of funny, huh? I gotta trim that out. Did I offset that the right? Oh, I gotta check my. I shouldn't have this, I don't think, going on. That's what I've got going on when I trim mine. I've got like a wider. Just gotta kind of pay attention here. This across this point should be. It's funny that I don't know if I've misplaced my hole. Yeah, maybe because I've got kind of a funky look to this. Something's not right because it didn't trim out right how I thought. That's 1/4 inch. I like that. That should be the slot width. It's like my diameter. This I fat fingered it or something. Yeah, I got a 0.253 diameter. So I can change that from the properties here though, 0.25. And there I just kind of fixed my issue, but I got to fix my trim issue that I have. But I just corrected the diameter of that with that. So a little modification there. I mean, that totally threw off how that transitions from radius to straight slot. So this one, and then I copied that, so I've increased, I've messed up both. So I'm changing that from the properties panel. That's kind of cool. A little bit of a parametric change there. I like that. If you remember that, if you have your properties panel up, there are some controls that you have here. So that came into my work to my advantage a little bit here. That looks so much better. Yeah. I just had to verify which one was wrong. Was I wrong on the circle diameter? Was I wrong on the offset? So I just had to do a few little measurements, figure it out. Perfect. This is kind of what it would look like from the top. I need to pull that stuff down, but I think this top view is looking pretty well finished, I think. Yeah. And I'm just gonna need to project all that information down. So I'll keep my center or my construction layer on and drop all those points. Like I need to know this stuff here down and through. There should be hidden line work through the thinner plate there, right there, down and through. And then I need to know where these circles all come through. So this one comes down and through and is going to hit there. I'm just going to pull it all the way through. I could just stop there, but it's going to come up to some cone shape feature, which I might need to know this point here, at least to the top. Maybe I'll just pull that one to the top. And then I need to know this one down and through. I think it says through, doesn't it? Let me see what it says. It does say through there. So I'm pulling that inner bore all the way down and through. Maybe it helps me kind of differentiate them uh, when I look at them in my front view just a little bit. This one should only go to the top like that, kind of. I think something like this gives me the information I need to know that this would be visible line work across the top surface, which is just from here to here. That's all the surface of the top, and then it transitions down to that point. And same way on this side. So maybe that's pretty well. It has some hidden line work the through bore goes down through all the way through. The slot would be hidden line here. I just need some center lines, I think. hard to say, like it's hard to say, should this bore come all the way down? Like you don't really know what there's some vagueness to this part of it. I don't know if this cone is like solid like I show it. Like, is it solid? I don't know. I'm gonna assume it's like this. The only thing I've said is that it's through both plates, maybe. Um, they kind of, I'm gonna keep a line of like to delineate between the cone section and the bottom plate instead of like cutting that out as like smooth. And it's really because I'm driven by what it looks like here. I would always have this line in the front view that would appear as this curved line in the front view is just going to look like a line. And then so it would come across to this point, and then where they've carried their solid line through, I'm carrying mine. So it's almost like there's like they're delineating between these two. Otherwise, they would have trimmed out maybe this to make it look like there's a surface blend going on here. This might be something that I would come back with some weld symbols and say how these two parts are joined, but maybe I need some more details on, is this like a flat piece that's rolled into a cone, or is it actually machined out of like the whole diameter, or 3D printed, maybe something that's this whole diameter and then it's just kind of printed like I showed in the front view here, like it's kind of thick. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit vague. I remember drawing this one before and thinking, there's kind of, to me, there's some undefined stuff a little bit, but with what I've been given, this is kind of how I'm going to draw it, I think.
Like it's a little bit like
Totally. It's exactly. This definitely could be some different things. Yeah, I like that. So let's put on a center mark. Yeah. And I'm going to use the bigger radius for my main center mark. It's gonna show the concentric nature of kind of all these. Uh, it's probably going to be a great control point datum for this part. I do need these to be 1/4 inch. At least like that. I like to do, this isn't the normal way I center line a slot. We've done a few of these already that I do like to have these two touch each other. So if they didn't, here they almost do. See, they have a little space. I'll drag them together until they do. Whether I extend the extensions to do that or the grips, um, is fine. But I generally like these to actually overlap, like down the kind of down this the alignment of this slot through from end to end, just this, so I can show that alignment, whether it's vertically or horizontally. In this case, it's a vertical alignment, just based on how my top view is. But yeah, pull those together, even, whatever rule I have to break to get those to, whether I just pull the extension ever so slight. Really, if I probably adjusted those extensions here, I'd probably get that overlap that I'm looking for. And I think I fat fingered one. Yep. And I'll just copy that. Match those properties. Something like that. See, I normally don't drop a crosshair on like radiuses features like this unless there's some hole in relation to some concentric nature of it. But other than that, I'm actually not going to put a center mark on rounds. But I'm going to put some center I'm going to put some center lines through this way. So a simple center line will carry our information there. And I think it's all I need is this one too. So between these two, that's down and through. I'll change one. And then I'll match those properties. That's looking pretty complete. Just need to dimension it now. So I'll take a look on my B size sheet. Yeah, there it is. Maybe I'll play around to see if I can double, like if I can if my double size will fit, or 1-to-1 might be great. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got you.
that's great up.
Yeah, this one technically I kind of move over here if I needed to, a little bit out of the, like it almost fits over here off to the side of the note. I just need to add another viewport right here. I'll just add another rectangular one somewhere. I always do that. It seems like I'm always on a center layer when I add a viewport, and I always have to remember to go. which is good because it's all red. It kind of catches my attention, but there we go. I really don't know if this is going to work or not. So likely not. Double the size. There's my part. A bit bigger, right? Plus, I don't even have dimensions yet, so I'm gonna have that issue probably. So, yeah, I bet you I'm gonna have to do a custom scale on this one, maybe. If I want it to be kind of bigger. Um, yeah, I didn't use too much. I think I'm gonna draw myself another construction line, turn it on. That might be the only reason why I would say, well, if I just put my construction work that I use out here on that, it might be a little bit busy. So I might go ahead and add myself a new construction layer again. Maybe I'll copy this word though, copy this time, copy that layer, paste that word as number 2. I like this. Okay. Then I can turn off that one. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be somewhere in this region that's going to fit. I'll move this viewport by this object, maybe just right there. Sure. I'm going to move this one by the same, something that's orthographically aligned like that. I've got them orthographically aligned. Yeah, I'm gonna hit dimensions and then I'll ultimately decide. I think once I get my dimensions, I'll probably determine 2 to 1 is just not, it's just a little bit too big. But let's do the dimensioning first before I ultimately make that choice. So I don't know if I locked these both down. Let me just check that I did. Lock that one down. If when I have to scale it different and have my dimensions change on me, I may have to unlock them to get them to flex for me. But I'm gonna go in and at least first start dimensioning them, then I can worry about that in a minute. But let's see, just overalls. Yeah, let's do this dimension. I know we're about at the end. Maybe I can almost finish this. Overall dimensions, sure. I'll go this overall first. Maybe it's a reference dimension in the future anyway. I just learned that sometimes those overall dimensions are really not a super like powerful controlling dimension. They're more informative than they are like super controlled. Um, Maybe the heights are a good one that are a better dimension. The overall height because it is kind of controlled off the base, and bases are great datums, great control hold features, the way it sits flat on something. Yeah. So this one is a better control dimension than that one. It's not bad, especially if where I've got such a big right side surface here. This could be a good datum. So technically, in the event that this did become a controlled critical hold dimension, I'd probably base it from here over to there because this is all radiused out to this end. And so, but that's definitely, and then I just need the depth, which I think is a great place for that's going to be the top view for my overall. Considering this one here is a great one. I'll probably do that there. What now? So that's on my overall dimensions. Now let's just break it down part by part. Like look at the cylindrical feature. I could also just look at the plate feature and locking it down in space. So maybe I'll start with that one first. I'll just start with the base plate as first thing. So let's think about its size. Oh, I've got one size right here, and I've kind of got another size right here. Like these are kind of functioning as size, kind of rectangular, right? Like length times width a little bit. And it's slightly rectangular. So that's kind of the size. Maybe it's got more to and it's got a thickness here too. So for sure, considering size, I need this thickness of that thing right there. That's maybe the best place to put that. I could put it out to the right here though, or left, sorry. But definitely one of the two. I like this one better. What else on its size? Well, it definitely has a radius on the end, a big radius. So I might call that out as part of kind of its size. Yeah, I think so. Like It's got this big radius on the end. So I think the best place to call that out is going to be with a radius dimension. It's not a diameter dimension because it's truly radius. It's not a full diameter. However, there is kind of a diameter associated with it too. But I think I'm going to call this out as a radius, thinking of the base plate part, not necessarily the cylinder shape part. So that's got a radius of 1. So size, if I think of that part, it's size. Well, it's got this size, it's got this size, it's got this size, and potentially this overall length size. Now, if I think of its location, I might locate it in relation to the center line of the cylinder shape stuff. So I might locate that part kind of by center line, which is going to function as kind of some of the location for the cylinder shape thing. So I can kind of, if I want to, my mind can kind of move along thinking, have I located it? Well, I don't know. I've definitely sized it. Have I located it? Well, maybe I'll think about it right now, and then I'll back think and think that if I've located the plate, have I also located some of the cylinder and so we'll or the cone, I should just call it a cone. But let's consider that maybe size and let's locate it then. Thinking of the base plate still. So I might say, well, from this front edge to the center of the plate, maybe this is a good locating dimension, right? It's off a center line. It's right here. This is 1 inch. It's really the plate that I'm thinking of locating kind of in the Y direction of how this part sits. I'm gonna drag this center line out through there like that. That's kind of part locating in a way. Like I've got this center line feature of a cone part, this through bore. Now I'm kind of like basing the front face to the center line off of kind of a locating. So I'm kind of establishing this as a datum. I'm establishing the part width off that datum. So this is good. I like this. It's kind of a location. What about locating it in the X direction? I could do that here as well. I could do that from the edge of a part over. I think that would be a good control hold. It would be me establishing the right side surface here as maybe a place to pull a dimension from. But I might actually look at it the other direction and say, I'm actually gonna choose this center line here and think about pulling this dimension from it out to this edge. So I think I'm going to add for a location on the plate, I'm going to add from center out to this edge. And that's the way I kind of view this dimension, that it's kind of coming from that center out to the edge, is not the edge in.
That center line going to the slot, using that slot.
Yeah, it could be something that I really need to detail here, right? Like I need to show those differences of alignment here. My dimensions might round but yeah, that's I think when I think about that feature, I may stop and think a little hard, knowing that I definitely have the dimensions I was given are not centered. So I might need to know that and detail that here. So when I think of that size and location, I'll think of that. So to me, this is kind of like location of plate. I've sized it and then I've even located it in kind of model space. So it's located off of a nice center line situation for the most part. Really, I'm doing its locations as these two. The 1 inch and the 2 1/4 are kind of locating that plate in from this center line here. I'm even viewing this one that I might consider pulling it from center out rather than from the front face, but it's really the first dimensions I've pulled. And then if that was the case, how I would read these two dimensions together is this one is like from center line out, it's 1 inch. And then from there, it's like 2 inches. I would almost that would be like if I was mapping it out, like following a maze. This one's saying from center out. This one's saying from that over now 2 inches. Because the control would be here, center line, controlling this out 1 inch. And then from there, I'm coming back 2 inches. It's kind of this like little zigzag pattern. That's kind of how you'd read that if you establish this as a datum, which usually needs additional labeling and additional control to do that. And we're not there yet, but I'm going to keep pointing it out. Okay. What else now? We move on to, I think, the cylinder, the main other feature of this part. I've considered the base plate. I know I haven't considered the slot yet. That's a feature of the base. So I kind of move on in my mind, and I think of more of the actual part, and it's the cone shape part. So I'm thinking I need to pull some probably diameters or radiuses here. I've got one radius which I may or may not keep. I'm kind of thinking about this one, but I think I'm going to pull the base diameter here in this where it appears rectangular. So I think I'm going to pull rather than, I mean, I could almost use this, but I need to change that to a diameter if I'm talking about the cone shape feature. Now it has a diameter, not the radius. But that's confusing because you're like, well, the radius is the diameter. Yeah, yeah, it is. But remember, the radius that I chose with an R is because the base plate's a radius, not a diameter. But when I look at the cone, it has a diameter with it. So I think I might add a linear dimension that's a diameter right here. That's where it appears in its rectangular view. It's a nice snap dimension. It just needs to add the diameter symbol in front of it. So this maybe is diameter. Yeah, keep my changes because I'm thinking of the size of this cone is what I'm thinking of now. That's one size with it. It's got a diameter at the base of it at 2 inches. It's got a diameter at the top at so many. I can put that here. Here's the diameter of the top right here at 1.25. This will also need a diameter symbol in front of it. So this is still size that I'm thinking of. Size. It's got multiple sizes associated with it. It's more complex than the other cylindrical features we've done because it's cone shaped. So it's got two different diameters, a top and a bottom diameter, and then it's still got an inner bore all the way through. And that one I don't want to dimension here because of the hidden line. So to continue this, although you could move on and think of the whole as kind of like a feature of this part. And so, like you said, I think, I mean, like I've said before, I think systematically, I think these overall size dimensions of the parts themselves. Then I start to think of the features within the parts. It just helps me like not miss a dimension if I systematically approach pretty much everything on these drawings. I have to have some type of a system. If I just start blasting dimensions, I just don't know what the hell I've even done, right? I can understand that I need some, but the way I dimension is I'm thinking of the features and the parts that I'm dimensioning. And that's the way I almost don't miss stuff. And I'm always thinking size and location with every feature and part. So I'm still just, so I haven't even, if that's the case, I wouldn't need to think about the through hole yet, because that's kind of a feature of the cone shaped part, or it's a kind of a feature of the whole thing in a way. So maybe I'll just stick to the cone. I've got two different diameters. Yes, the upper and the lower diameter. And then maybe just think of its located. That's probably all of the sizing that it needs. And then it just needs to be located. And so technically, my locations for that are kind of working with the rectangular locations. Like the 1 inch is kind of a location. It's a center, and out to its diameter is 1 inch. So I've kind of got a location there. And I've got a location maybe in this direction would be handy. Um, I've kind of got it though. It's at 2.5, although that's using the plate. It kind of is the location. Yeah, so maybe I'm kind of located, especially if the bore center hole or the concentric nature of all those features, if they are going to be pulled as a datum, then I kind of have those. I would kind of control, the horizontal and vertical nature of that crosshair as maybe two datums. And then if that's the case, then I definitely have the dimensioning I need for locating potentially. It's arguable that I could say, well, maybe I need to do a linear dimension here from center out to there and from center out to there, and that kind of locates it in relation that it is concentric. And we've been doing that a little bit. That's good locating. From the center, I'm kind of controlling out to the so I could, and this is where I might start doing more dimensions and then decide if I really need them. But what I'm saying is maybe I need to control from its center line over to this outer diameter as a linear control like this.
Right, but there's the only one center line.
Be enough control? I think that's arguable. I think that's true, potentially, yes. Yeah. Yep. But there's only one center line. Yeah. This would be ultimate control potentially, maybe, and it might be necessary in some part, because then you would also need this one. Yeah, but what's kind of weird is that even though you're establishing like the diameters here, you're not establishing them like a diameter from where, right? It's just this diameter of itself. It's a size diameter, but it's not a location diameter, right? So when I add these other two dimensions, they kind of function more as like a location dimension for those diameters. So I kind of would read something like this as saying from center, that's like this really hard control point, my top diameter, I come over 0.63, and then I have this diameter that, so I almost like would read this from there, it's there, and then from there it's this diameter. So it's almost like this little zigzag that I build if I'm reading the dimensions that way from a control point. And the same way with the outer one, I would say, oh, it's like 1 inch over from there, from the center line, and then it's from there, it's 2 inches back that other direction. So it's kind of like controlling its location in some ways. So I'm going to leave them and just think about them a little bit more. But like you say, it's a little bit of an in-depth thought process that we get to in GD&T, and then we can even analyze if I've really got it located right too. Because I'm not, truth be told, I'm not like super perfect with GD&T because I never had to work in a really highly controlled environment, but I get the concept and I like it. So it would be the same way here. I might have to control those dimensions there from this. If this is a hard controlled datum here, maybe I've got to control their position that way as well. So it does add a lot of dimensioning, but maybe we can move on a little bit. Let's think of the whole bore. I still haven't done that though. If the yeah, if this is now a feature of the cone itself, so I think I'm going to put its diameter in this top view because otherwise it's this one here. Otherwise, it's hidden view. And the other two I'm calling out right here. I've got a little bit of a redundant dimension you might think of, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's the radius of the plate. This is the diameter of the cylinder. So they're really not redundant dimensions. They are kind of do two different features. And then, and then I just have the slot, which I think is going to be mostly all located in size in the top view. So let's do that. Let's think of its size first. Size dimension. Well, it's just got I could call out the size with a radius call out because that's gonna be true from this point. So this would be maybe a legit way to size this. And if you got to go, it's fine. I'll just post what I finish here. There's radius, and I could even call this out as there's two of these, one on each end of this. So this would be good. Whether this is what I end up with, I don't know. Like you'll see a lot of times I'm putting more dimensions, then I go back through and I just kind of analyze myself. Do I need more location? Do I need at the very end? I might start thinking, but this I'm going to say at least two of those. That's a size, and then its size is also kind of probably distance between the two centers of this would be considered the size. So I definitely have this as a radius. That means this is that. But I think what I need to know for size is how far apart those radiuses are, right? So to me, this becomes kind of a critical dimension from center to center, how far apart those are. I know I'm crisscrossing dimensions. I'll deal with that later, but this is kind of a for sure a size dimension. It's got this radius is associated with it in two places, and then that's the size. And these would have to reach out. I generally just let them overlap that. So that's kind of size. It's like 3/4 inch between the two, and it's there, that radius. Yeah, I wouldn't choose to put a diameter there because it's not a diameter, it's a radius. I could choose to put the linear width across though. Like it wouldn't be wrong to say, well, I sized it this way. And you would say, well, that's definitely sized. It's kind of saying the same thing as me. Is one better than the other? I don't know. I still don't have the radius call out if I do that, but my radius kind of covers both of those if I'm thinking about it. And then I just need to locate that. So locating it, well, I would kind of think of where's my control. For sure, I'm kind of establishing control of this part from center. I think I already just decided that I liked the 1 inch from center over. And so maybe I would control the slot from center, like this center line, rather than from an edge. Like I definitely not going to choose the back edge. Like I could, but I really haven't pulled any dimensions from the back edge. You might think that I've pulled the two there, but I think I already talked myself through this is this way and then this is this way. So I'm really not thinking of the back edge as go ahead, Abigail. Oh yeah, yeah. I th I think I might need to do both eventually, right here. Once I start considering this location, which is what I'm trying to do right now, is like, yeah, you're right. This is going to be what you're saying is I probably need to control it this way as well, right? Like I might have to put this in as a control for location. And then I might need to put this one in too if they're not the same. And they're not the same, maybe, right? One of them's just slightly different. Deleting what? Yeah, it's technically if you're following, if you were following the instruction sheet, it was rounded to 2, which makes this wrong. So I might do this as my location control off of that same center line. Because now what I've got going on is I've got the 1 inch controlled off this center line, plus I've got the distance of the slots. Yeah, I've got the overall here that they are going to equal this. It's not a redundant dimension because I'm not going to make somebody add these together. I'm just going to say, they're slightly off center for this slot reason by 5 thousandths or something, or it looks like 10,000 or yeah, it looks like what? I don't know, a lot. Yeah, 10 thousandths. Is that what it is? Okay. And then I just need to control it the other direction. I think I'm going to do from this center line over to this center line here is going to be my other control. That's what the 2.5 is. That's the way I read this. This is going to be my control hold. It's out 2.5 inches to this. So likewise, I didn't, so I chose to, do the Y control off of this center line and show the differences. That's critical. Now I'm doing the X direction control, and I think I really haven't pulled anything from the right over, right? I haven't really pulled any dimensions with this as kind of a base or a datum. I don't have any. I have this one, but remember, I'm not pulling it from there to there. I'm pulling it from center over. So this is my hold control for that dimension. And if I look down here, I've pulled this one, but I'll repeatedly say these overalls are sometimes going to become reference dimensions and they're not going to really establish a hard datum necessarily. They're kind of informational. So I don't love that one as any kind of really control hold. And so I really haven't pulled anything off if I've analyzed what I've done so far, I've not pulled a dimension off the right side edge or surface to use it as a datum at all. I actually haven't. So maybe I'm not going to, because if I pull this from here to here, I'm going to now kind of make that a datum, and I'm not going to. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to stick with the same datum I've established, which is this one. The center to center here is maybe going to be my better dimension if I was doing the good, better, best analysis. So I think of like controlling my part, which is not something you probably in architectural, it's just a different scenario that we just go into the weeds a little bit about where I'm pulling dimensions and which ones are better to pull from. And once I've pulled from some, should I just continue to pull from those locations so I don't establish like dimensions coming from every which way, And then Alice in Wonderland's Road has 15 different paths to take rather than just two. We want to simplify our lives a little bit to not create dimensions coming from everywhere, right? I'm kind of systematically deciding where my dimensions are coming from. It's hard. This is a hard process. Alice, just be like, you're screwed. Should have never came here. Yeah, jump movies. Get out of here. Yeah, exactly. No, good point. I think sometimes these pull goofy. This is not what you have. Yeah, what drove that is this dimension. This is what screwed everything up right here. But I don't say it's a screw up. I could say the part has a specific design. And then this one's probably going to come inside that one. It's going to be like this. And then this one's going to come outside. That'll kind of eliminate some overlap. Maybe, I don't know. I think I'm just going to do it like that. I'm definitely going to cut this extension line around that dimension line when I get to cleaning that up really good. Right now, I'm just kind of reanalyzing if I feel like I have everything and what basically how things are going to stack up. But I think I've located this. Yeah, I've got a through axis. It's one reason why it's critical to pull those throughs, because if I'm going to just dimension in one spot and I've got like a really long slot, but I want it to be axial aligned or down a center line, then make sure those center lines pull together from one of the radiuses to the other. That's why I've definitely made this critical move to pull them together. That way one dimension is sufficient. I've chosen this as my control dimension. So really, if I really analyze the parts, the top control is just is the crosshair. It really is. Like this is controlling the whole features. It's like everything's pulling from center over for control, and then everything's kind of pulling from center out for control. So all these dimensions, this center line is king. When I go down to the front view and I decide where's dimensions being pulled, well, I'm actually pulling off that center line as well. So that's still kind of like the same datum. Essentially, I'm just looking at it in two different two different views here, but I'm controlling these sizes by these kind of linear lengths. I could go either direction, really. It wouldn't matter if I went this way or that way from the center, I don't think. So if these were the other way, I don't feel like there's a good or better necessarily there. I just plopped them down. I think I'm going to keep them though. This one I've located, so I don't need any other dimensions there. But then so really, I haven't really established any new datums when I look. I've got the bottom datum, and then I've really got the crosshair datum as like controlling all the other dimensions. They're all associated with those 3 points. And that's what I'd really like you to try to figure out at the end is like, if you analyze your parts and where dimensions are being pulled from, do you have like one, two? Generally, you're always going to have at least two control points. Do you have three? Great. If you keep adding up that I'm pulling like 5 and 6, you've complicated how you're pulling your dimensions. Like you should probably target like 3 control points. And I have here, like I've got the base pulling up my heights. So that's kind of a control point in my front view. And then I've established this one, which is kind of the same as this one. So really I've established 2, and my third one is this way. So really I've got this like 3 controlled points where I'm pulling all my dimensions from. And then if in the future, when I establish those as what we call a datum, then those things are like easy to evaluate apart from those 3 datums. Yeah. So that's also hard to think, but I mean, I can keep adding datums, but it might be unnecessary to do that. If I can control the part with a single one or a double one, that's great. If I need 3, that's great. If I need more than that, I would say why. Now I just got to clean it all up and call it a day. So I can start anywhere. Doesn't matter. Maybe I'll start here. Need to trim out some of these, I think. These are going to cross a dimension line no matter what, and that's okay. I'm just going to make sure they stagger just a little bit. And this one's going to be my most intermediate. Gonna go clear up there. I'm probably gonna end up like crowding out my 2 views, but I'll just fix that maybe, or move them away. Like I can get them all dimension and then slide them away from each other maybe, or make a copy of them and move them away. I think that's what I'd probably do, because I think that these are gonna crunch each other in their views right now. So that's so yeah, I'll decide that right now here once I space these ones like that, and then I'm gonna chop some of these through. I think I'm going to go that way and show this chop through. This one is chopping through that one. I don't like how those are stacked up, so I'll slide them away. Something like that. I could even slide this one back. Sometimes I do a little stagger like this, but I don't think I grabbed that one when I bundled that. Let me see this. Yeah, that's good. Might be close. I haven't fixed those. Let me fix these ones here. I'll go for the arrows out or arrows in. I think arrows out, maybe if I just bump it like that. That's good. Works for me. Maybe I'll just pull this up a little bit. There we go. Clean that up. Do a little crisscross here. It wouldn't matter too much here either. I've got 2 crisscrosses here. So maybe I'll cut this one around that one. Oh, sorry. Wrong. This one around. And then I'm going to continue to cut that one around this one, I think too. That way I'm cutting the same one through both of those. Yeah, that looks good. Now I'll space these ones out. Some crisscrossing there too, but let me clean these up here. I think I'm going to keep these two as my intermediate ones. So if I just pull one over 375, then I'll line up those two. I usually grab the arrow grips to line them up perfectly. Those will both be considered my intermediate ones. And then I'll just choose one of those to space the rest of these off of, like that one, and that one. I think that will behave better. Got some careful lineup here. I might pull it away just a little bit more and get this to get away from that dimension. That's better. Maybe I'll pull this out just a little bit more. Exceed the minimums just a little bit for me here. Just it was a little bit crowded. And I've got a cut here, so I'm going to cut that. This extension line is going to cut through this dimension line. That's better. And you could argue, well, would it be better to pop these out? And that'd be okay too. Like I could move these out and away, but maybe I'll keep them in. Just gotta be careful. That radius looks good there, I think. Yeah, just leave it. Two radius. I think I'll even keep that radius. It's a separate feature to me. It's just another, I think it's a good, it makes sense that it works with this diameter. So I think I'll keep it. And this diameter was I had to have for sure. I'm just tucking it in a little bit. I'm in the viewport. Yeah. This is what double size looks. Definitely crowded, right? Definitely going to be definitely probably going to need a custom scale on this, I think, or a 1-to-1. Like, let's see, like I've got them orthographically aligned. So I'll take a look at the next size down I have. So I'm going to unlock that first viewport. I'm on a 2-to-1. The next size down I have is just a 1-to-1, right? I don't have anything that's like in between. Nope, there's 1-to-1. And then let me take a look at this here, and I'm unlock it and do a 1-to-1 as well. Yeah, I just moved them to 1-to-1, which breaks them away from. I'm gonna get off them here, but they kind of look like a mess. But maybe I'll pull them off each other here a little bit, see if I can. Yeah, you probably could. You could probably do one. I'm going to show you how to do a custom scale here, potentially, because my 1-to-1 I feel like on this sheet is a little bit small. It actually might be a good size depending on at a 1-to-1. Let's take a look. No, I like options is what I like actually. Yeah, the only problem I have, so what am I? I'm a 1-to-1 on a size. It would be good. It's a good size of sheet. I have an issue where I'm crowding my dimensions. So I think I'll copy and move them, and I'll have to use two viewports for me to fix that, right? Like for me to do some cleanup here, and maybe I'll flex these. Like I unlock them to flex them, and I might just jump this up to 2 and then just jump this back to 1. I just want to make sure my dimensions are really like auto adjusting how they fit. They're a little crowded. Like my dimensions um are going to be a little crowded here. Like they're not super clean, right? So I might need this to be a little bit bigger, even on this sheet, based off the way I've dimensioned mine. And additionally, I'm crowding the two views. So I feel like the best, like I can maybe get 1-to-1 work here, but I still feel like I'm gonna have an issue with my dimensions crowding each other in just the one view of each one. So I think the best selection here, and then 2 we know is not going to fit here. It doesn't even fit on the B size sheet, right? So let me just I'll think through my thought process here. It's definitely that 1-to-1 for dimensioning is a little bit tight. There's just a lot of dimensions on a little part. That's why it crowds it. So right, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 is obviously too big, but the dimensions fit a lot better, and they're easy and they're clear to read. So somewhere in between 1 to 2 is where I need to build a scale. I feel like to have probably the best presentation and be able to fit. So what I do is I just come down here because I think I've told you, like, I feel like they're a little bit coarse in their in how many options I have here. So I can build a new one. If you scroll down on your list, this is good to learn. Because a lot of times I'm not, as we get other drawings, I'm not always super critical on what scale you use, as long as there was a method to it, it wasn't just some random scrolled scale. I do want to build an actual scale because I have to put the scale in my drawings usually. And so I can't, and usually on a title block where you put the scale, it's only just going to want to accept like a fraction or a little ratio. It's not going to want to accept like a big decimal number. That wouldn't be great. So we try to keep them kind of like they look here. Like architectural ones are going to look like this on your sheets, and mechanical ones are going to look like a ratio usually. So I'm going to build a scale that looks like those. So I'm going to say custom, opens up this little dialog box, and I'm just going to add a scale because from 1 to 2 is just too big of it's too coarse of a double to 1 is a big jump. So I'm going to say add a scale, and then it asks you. So it's this double dialog box here. It says name appearing in scale list. So you get to choose what it is in your drop down list. And so I generally leave it as a fraction. So maybe a 1.5 would be good. So I might do that as a decimal and say, well, it's a 1.5 to 1 like this. So it's something that will easily fit in a title block scale call out, which are generally they're just looking for a ratio. So this is like a 1.5. I think you could even write it like this if you want to. 1-1.5. That sometimes is how people will say 1.5. And then they would put the colon here and say 1. I tend to say probably I'm going to use a decimal and say 0.5. I should look up to see if one's right or wrong because off the top of my head, I can't say other than I think I've done this before. Like a 1.5 to 1. Then you have to tell that well, which one's 1 and which one's 1.5. Well, my drawing units are always 1. They're 1 to 1, 1 to 1, 1. So don't mess up the drawing unit scale. Do the paper units. Where I want to change everything is just so it fits on paper. So I'm going to say the paper units. If it's a 1 scale in my drawing, I need it to be 1.5 because double was too much. So 1.5 to 1. This is what it's going to look like. I'm going to say okay. There it shows up as a 1.5 to 1 scale. So I just kind of created it. I can say okay. I think I can maybe set that or add it. Let me just say okay. I think I have to come in here and now choose it. So if I'm going to come into my viewport and I've just built a scale that should be selectable now. I'm in that viewport, selected scale, 1.5 to 1 right there. I'm going to come up here to this one. I'm going to set it on the same scale, 1.5 to 1. Now I've got to decide if I still have room, and I got to get it orthographically aligned as well. So I've got some more cleanup to do here. So I'm just going to look at my viewports first and say, without trying to knock my scale, I can size my viewport off the bottom like that. I don't need it. I have to have two because mine are crowded. Well, you could look, yeah. If you kept more space than I did, which you see, mine are just crowd. If I have a single viewport, this is ugly in this single viewport, right? It'll look like that. So I have to use two just based off how I've dimensioned mine. So yeah, so that's that. And I've got two. I kind of pre-planned two, and so I've already got one. But what I need to do is maybe just move this one off and get a good look at just one, right? I can just move that thing out of my way. This is where it gets a little tricky. Some of these dimensions are, I mean, I'd have to zoom in here and like size my viewport like perfectly like that, which would kind of work. Like I could do this and not have to move my drawing. If I couldn't do this, if I couldn't get these and I had a whisker of the other view showing up, I don't want that. I actually want to get rid of that. And so it have to be like right here. Like I'm so close that I can kind of do that. If I couldn't do what I just did, I'd have to come back into my model space and move this, right? Like I would do a copy of this without its construction work. I don't want any of that. I want to leave the construction work with the two main base that I have. I'm going to select those, select the but 5 base points right here. I would pull them away like orthographically just to create some space like this, kind of like we did in that last assignment. So I've got a copy of that right there. This is where I'm going to zoom in with my viewport though. If I just couldn't get, I could get it to work with like being real careful here, but if I want to just be lazy, not even lazy, if I just want to be, I don't know, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to move this thing. I'm going to move my view to this one. Now that's easier for me to get it like lined up. I'm going to put it the 1.5 to 1. I may have to jump out here and resize it a little bit. Maybe move it over here for a minute. So this just allowed me to like zoom in easier, not have to be so dang careful between the two views. What I do need to do is like orthographically align it though. So I've got my one construction line, so I will pick a move the viewport, right click, and then I get the grips that are in the viewport. So I think I'm going to pick this one as a great alignment right there. I'm going to lock this in. I make sure I'm not cutting off any of my dimensions. I'm going to go make sure it's at the true one and I haven't scrolled weird. It looks like I had. So there's that. Let me lock that, jump out. I feel like I'm cutting it off a little bit right here. There we go. That looks okay. And it's locked down right now. Yep, 1.5 locked down. So now I'm going to move this one or maybe do some adjusting here. If I jump back out, I'm going to have the same issue here where these are running super close and I can barely get them to break up. But I think I'll just do a copy of this as well. Copy this whole thing with its dimensions that I need, not those ones. Right click, specify the base point here. I'm just going to pull it up in a way that's easy to zoom in on it, like that. Now I'm going to go back into here. It's good exercise to start working with viewports because it's just I think in architectural use the heck out of this. In mechanical, we can almost get away with not having to deal with it, but it's better if we do learn to deal with it because it's just a normal part of drafting, right? Like you have this huge model space. You can use it for a lot of different things. I can already tell second year students from architectural use this a lot more than first year mechanical students do. So, and then this one, I'm going to re-zoom in. Sorry, I just want to finish mine real quick. I'm going to re-zoom in on my new copied. There it is. It's 1.5 to 1. I love that. I'm going to lock it down in that viewport. And then I just want to resize this. I don't need this to be so big, right? Tuck this in. I'm going to move it over here at least, but then I need to orthographically align it. So I've got to align it the same feature. Oh, it looks like I've moved that a little bit. I think it was because when so pay attention to this. Orthographic alignment with two viewports is kind of a pain. You just want to be careful that like when I resize that and before I locked it down, I actually just moved it slightly off of its orthographic alignment. There it is. I'm going to move it back. Perfect. Get out of that viewport and let's get into this one. Well, I don't need to get into it. I'm on the outside. Select it. This is the point that's in orthographic alignment. Let's use it for this alignment. Bam. Maybe I want to move it down. I can just move it down a little bit by this point down that line. I don't know how far, something like that. There's no right or wrong, just a little bit of space between them. They're both locked down at 1.5. Yep. Double check, double, triple check. I can turn off my doesn't really matter if I leave that on. Sometimes I leave these on just to help me see if I ever bump that and it's out of alignment. I'm gonna do a control preview. This is where I get the real look of what it looks like. I can tell I need line type scales adjusted. So to me, this just kind of and I look for errors like this too. Like that 37 would be better if I popped it out. Like I don't love how that's looking. It's a little bit crowded. As long as I fix the 37, I'd be happy. But what I just noticed is a 1-to-1. Maybe I got too crowded. And this to me looks a little bit better. But I would accept it if as long as it looked, as long as as long as the dimensions I can read them and stuff. I won't be critical on which layout you used. And I'm going to go in and probably add to this assignment that um, maybe it's got to be a custom scale or something. But yeah, I'm almost done. What is it? Oh, it is. Yeah, 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 yeah. Heck yeah. Think. Yeah, that looks good. And then what I need to do is come in here and extend that out and let it overlap like that. I like that better. And change those line type scales. This is the one I said I didn't love how this was in it's just a slight adjustment. Which they are kind of hard to do. Ever so slight. Yeah, the question was whether I should pull this all the way out. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't even notice it necessarily, and it wouldn't even be like wrong. I would be happier to have the dimension than not. And so anyway, but it would, if I pulled that out, it would cross the one and the two. And anyway, yeah, I'm trying to minimize how many extension lines, cross dimension lines, but knowing that it does happen. I mean, knowing that I have room to work with here too, I could give myself just a little more room here. As long as I'm not pulling it way out to where it looks funny with the other views and where the dimensions are. A little more clearance is helpful there to me. Yeah, that's good. Those are good. Anything else I was pretty happy with, I think. Still in alignment, yes. I feel like this is just a little crowded though. It's a little bit better. Okay. Slide adjustments. Seems like the horizontal spacing always works out better. The vertical spacing always is a little bit crowded. This one I haven't chopped yet either. I can see that now. Like this break should probably be this broken around this, like that. Some more line type scales on the bottom view, I think. This one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be happier with what the PDF of this looks like. Sure. It's good control. Good. I'm gonna call this done. Sign this thing like Bob Ross would at the end here. It's I think we're done. Let's sign this. I'm not really done. I noticed I didn't have my name right here, so. Oh, and I might need to add a note to I might need to add my fillet note because there was some fillets that I didn't detail. So there's that going on. This is what is it called? Swivel base. Swivel bay? No, just swivel base. My mom's birthday. Got it. Yeah, this one needs a note added to it. Like I saved my template with the original note and I deleted and so this is where I would add one more line to my note, which would say fillets and rounds. This is 0.25, right? R 0.25. And then it's a little bit interfering with my border, so I need to move it just up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, this is good. But if you were able to do 1-to-1 and your dimensions weren't super crowded, like I would be fine with that. Like if you'd clean up your dimensions to where they were legible, and if you used a single viewport and succeeded, that would totally be fine. Like I would never criticize that because what I want us to know is just to have I want to have the freedom to move things as we need them and then view into them. And this is not uncommon to get into like somebody's drawing and realize, oh, they've done a bunch of work that was crowded and they pulled it away. And it's, I would still leave those. I wouldn't go through and probably delete all these at all. I'll just leave it. It's just like technically everything that I originally drew in this area is just construction work. And my main views are when I was done with that. But if there are parts, if stuff needs change, it's just not easy no matter what. Like in CAD in general, if I've missed, if the part needs to be revised or whatever, it's just kind of labor intensive. It's going to be, I'm going to have to just decide to change this one or go back to the original one and change it with its construction lines and make sure everything's good and then maybe make another copy of it. So yeah, it's just painful, but it's not impossible. But I'm happy with this. I'm going to save it now. Yeah. Top view on 0.5 right here. Let's see here. 2.5 and 1 right here. Yeah, I like that. Good call. I should break one of those. And I think I could break either one. So yeah, good call. I do. That's a real fine detail that I miss for sure. Like let's get in here. Let's do that break. And what tomato, maybe I'll break this one around that one. Yeah. That looks good. That's better. Heck yes. That's a good catch. I've, it's definitely something if you do, I don't even think I have it as line items in my thing to make sure is there breaks between extension lines, but the one I would probably call you out on more is if I saw it cross a dimension line. But so this, but I do like to, if I catch it, I will do it, and you'll see me probably miss it from time to time. But yeah, I definitely like to catch it. It would be my preferred. So I like that catch. Good, good, good. Now let's make this thing a PDF. Yeah, this is always where I do a lot of my analysis because it's all cleaned up and it's what I'm going to send somebody. So I did fix them there, huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that one, yes. Yeah, good, good. Super good. All my dimensions kind of in between those views. It's good. I'm gonna save it. Save that one. Then we're done. I know I overlapped, and you guys, cool. Kudos to you guys for staying, finishing up. Then we only have one more to finish this week. That's great. Just need to save it in week 6. Yeah, I can. Yep. Yeah, you should have. I should have a drawing posted for you to work from. Yeah, I'm gonna do more of those in the future as well. I tried to pick a pretty simpler one. It has it, you know, it has a couple parts and a couple features. So this is my swivel base, and this is its ortho. The first time I have a good ortho. Yeah, sweet. That's it for this one. Probably kind of a long